Well, to the other big royal talking point of the week now, how the Windsors will be celebrating Christmas, the real Windsors. The Mail's royal editor Rebecca English had a scoop this week which revealed that the Queen is so COVID conscious that it has even changed her plans on her presents for her household. Rebecca joins us now via Skype. Rebecca, what will the Queen be doing?
Well, I remember when we were discussing this just last week, saying we had to consider whether Christmas would even be at Sandringham this year. And lo and behold, Buckingham Palace have announced that it will be a small and, dare I say it, slightly lonely Christmas for the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, alone at Windsor Castle this year. I mean, courtiers aren't ruling out the fact that members of the royal family will pop along at various points in the festive season to say hello, maybe wave through the window, go for a socially distanced walk or a ride. But it really will be turkey for two on Christmas Day.
It's been a rather tumultuous year in royal land. Maybe they're quite thrilled at the prospect of a quiet one.
I remember joking last week that maybe Prince Philip was secretly looking forward to it.
But what about presents? They are very important for the Queen, are they not?
They are. So each year the Queen actually puts her hand in her own pocket to the tune of tens of thousands of pounds and buys a present for every single member of our household staff. And bear in mind, there's kind of over 500 in London alone. And these are wonderful gifts she gives them. I mean, I know people in the past who've got photo frames, trinket boxes, champagne flutes, all with the royal cipher on it. And I'm also told, actually, if they don't want those, they can actually ask for John Lewis vouchers. And the Queen makes a point each year of choosing a number of people to give the present to personally by the Christmas tree at either Windsor or at Buckingham Palace. And for the junior members of staff, it's a really special time of the year because sometimes it's the only time they actually get to talk to her. But yes, again, that's another tradition that is going to have to go by the wayside this year because of COVID. Although they will be getting their presents, it will just be in a very different way.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's been a tough year for everybody, but no doubt the Palace Sandringham staff as well. I mean, having been in a bubble in order to protect the royal family.
And I suspect that's very much come into the Queen's thinking when she's made the decision. She knows that people have made sacrifices for her. So, you know, she's going to try and help them at, you know, a very special time of the year.
Do you think Her Majesty does really feel that responsibility to be seen to be doing the right thing?
Definitely. And that's why I was being briefed this week that she's very sanguine about this decision. She feels she's very lucky that each year she tends to have most of her family around her. And she knows that there are, you know, competing pressure on them this year. You know, a lot of people haven't seen her own family as well as staff, haven't seen other family members this year. So, you know, she's quite sanguine about it and says she's just looking forward to a better 2021. And I think so say all of us.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Rebecca. We'll have more from you very shortly. Richard, giving up presents for much of the staff, I mean, they can't earn much anyway, right? It must be a bit of a blow.
Yeah, I mean, royal staff generally are quite poorly paid, and the bonus has always been the sort of incidentals like this, and also that it's great for your CV if you go on to get a better paid job afterwards. So this sort of thing, it might seem quite minor, but actually, you know, it is a big deal. But it's the same for all of us. You know, we're all missing out on Christmas parties and things like that that we enjoyed. So I think, you know, the royal family is in the same boat, and it's just one of those unfortunate things.
I want to know who's ever dared ask for John Lewis vouchers instead of...
I know, how could you? How could you? Well, I've got this beautiful present for you. Actually, I like the vouchers.
Yeah, can't really use a champagne flute. Victoria, whatever the royals do at Christmas, they're sort of going to be scrutinised, so it doesn't feel like there's anything that feels 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been very important to them throughout this whole pandemic to be seen to be very much enforcing and following the rules that other people are being asked to follow. So obviously, any big family gathering was obviously going to be off limits because it's against the regulations. And I suppose by having this very quiet Christmas, they are sending a message that, you know, they are really reining in and not sort of trying to push the boundaries to get as many people as they possibly can. It's just going to be the Queen and Philip. I think taking away that public element as well is quite crucial because obviously that walk to church on Christmas morning, lots of people gather to try and see them.
Seems to be more and more every year.
Won't somebody think of the newspaper editors who have to fill the Boxing Day pictures?
Yeah, exactly.
Only story in town on Christmas Day. Yeah, that's the curse of covering the royal family, is that you always have to work in some capacity on Christmas Day. But yeah, so I think, and you know, from what we understand, the Queen isn't going to do anything that means she can be seen, so there'll be no temptation for people to gather. I I think there'll be a lot of focus on her Christmas speech this year. Obviously, COVID, it's going to be very much about that. And people do pay attention to it every year, but I feel like a year like this will be a year when we really are looking to her to kind of bring us together and sum everything up in the way that she did when she made that speech back in April. So I think that's something that's going to be maybe even more prominent than normal.
Gosh, no pressure, Your Majesty.
And from
I
what
think she can handle it, yeah.
From what I hear, the palace was very alarmed by all the talk about who's going to be in the Queen's bubble. You know, we discussed this last week.
Well, that problem's been well and truly solved.
Well, I think that's a point to make, actually, is that, you know, COVID aside, obviously COVID has been the dominant thing for everyone this year, but it has been, I think, as you said earlier, quite a challenging year for the royal family generally, and these narratives around the family dynamic always come up at Christmas time, and in a way that's kind of all been avoided now. So the conversation of, are Harry and Meghan coming over? How big is this rift if they're not? And will Andrew be seen publicly? Because remember, last year he stayed at home with Prince Philip, who had just come out of hospital. But of course, there'll be that question mark: is he going to be seen? Because he hasn't been seen at all throughout this year, and that would have been raised. So that has kind of all been avoided.
Families, hey?